Hey friends, Ash here with Gents, and today I'm going over with you guys 10 cheap fragrances that also have powerful above average performance. So good longevity, good projection for a cheap price. That's what we're going for in this video here today. Some of these fragrances are going to be a little bit older, so they've got kind of an old school vibe to them. Other fragrances we're going to go over here today are a little bit newer, a little bit fresher. So we've got a good variation here, a lot to talk about, so let's jump right into this. Check out 10 powerful fragrances that are still really cheap. All right, first off, kind of an obvious one. This one gets compared to Chanel Sycamore, which is a much more expensive fragrance. And it's a fragrance that a lot of people will say is niche quality at a cheap price. It's this one, Encry Noir by Lalique. And if you wanted a version of this that's going to be more wearable for spring and summertime, you could go with Encry Noir Sport, which is also very inexpensive and is a great fragrance as well. This one has vetiver, cypress, cashmere wood, and musk as the notes in the fragrance. It is dark, a little bit mysterious, rooty, and woody. You can pick this one up for about $25 from discounters, so again, very cheap. And this one actually blew me away the first time that I smelled it. Just the quality from this, like I said before, is amazing for the price that you pay. Vetiver and the cypress in this fragrance really shine. So if you don't like those notes, this one may not be for you, but for me, this one has always worked very well. And actually, I used to wear this to the office quite often, though I would tone down the number of sprays that I did just to make sure that it was still office friendly. Fantastic fragrance, smells amazing. Encry Noir. Next up, a fragrance that is a big departure from the last one. This one is much fresher, and if you've been into any Sephora, Ulta, or really any fragrance store at all, you've seen this one. It is Chrome by Azzaro, and yeah, this is an enormous 200 milliliter size bottle. This one you can pick up for about $27 at discounters as of this video. That's for a 50 ml size bottle, not for this size right here, but still pretty cheap. Definitely don't buy Chrome at retail. Not a great way to spend your money. It's got lemon, rosemary, neroli, and bergamot, along with a bit of pineapple, actually, as some of the notes in this fragrance. It is a shower gel, clean, fruity sweetness kind of scent. So this is gonna be your springtime, summertime, daytime type of fragrance. Very clean and soapy. It spawned many flankers. Chrome Aqua, one of the newest ones, actually is a personal favorite of mine, but the original still works and still can pull compliments. It's a very people-pleasing kind of scent, very versatile. And this is another fragrance that's easily worn to the office, and though it is more suited for spring and summertime, it does have performance that's good enough that it can cut through the cold in fall and winter. So there's the next one on this list, Azzaro Chrome, and a lot of the flankers really could have made this as well. From there, we're gonna go to this one, Jacques Bogart, Bogart Pour Homme. Now, this may have a look of an old fragrance from the 80s, but it's actually not. It's from the 2000s. And this one is extremely inexpensive, one of the cheapest ones on this list. You can pick this up for about $15 from discounters. It's got tonka, lavender, patchouli, and cedar are some of the notes in the scent. And this one has actually been compared by some people to Armani Code Profumo, and also Stronger With You by Emporio Armani. Now, I don't think it smells the same as either one of those fragrances, but it's in the same style of fragrance. So if you like those two, you'll probably like this one as well. It is quite sweet, which is because of the tonka, but that also makes it extremely likable. It's a fragrance that might surprise you. When you take a look at the bottle, like I said, and you take a look at the price tag, you probably would think, yeah, that's not gonna be for me. It's gonna have some old man kind of scent profile to it, or maybe just smell screechy and horribly cheap, but that's not the case at all. In cool weather, this thing is a beast. It cuts through the cold. It's warm, it's sweet, it's inviting, and it just smells really nice for the price. 15 bucks. I mean, at that price, you can't get a whole lot for $15 in terms of fragrances. And that is one of the best ones in that price range that I've smelled. Let's go from there to this one, Calvin Klein Reveal. When this came out, I can still remember a lot of people going around searching for it, trying to find it, because it popped up at TJ Maxx and Ross's all across America. So people were trying to find this and scoop it up for, you know, 20 bucks from TJ Maxx's. Got a little bit of hype. People seemed to really enjoy it. And then it just kind of faded away. Nowadays, you can pick this up for about 30 bucks at discounters, and it actually has great performance off my skin. The first time that I sprayed this fragrance on, which was a few years back, I sprayed it on apparently a bit too heavy. It was really only 5-6 sprays maybe, and my wife commented that it was choking her out, and she was actually sitting all the way across the room, and this was after I'd already had it on for a few hours. So this is one that can kind of sneak up on you, like surprisingly powerful, that type of scent where maybe you don't realize how strongly it's projecting off your skin, but it's really pumping out. This one has some interesting notes as well, including agave. Yeah, like from tequila. There's also brandy in here, there's pear, there's melon, there's tonka. So there's a lot of different things in here that you don't really see very often in fragrances. It's got this almost kind of green sweetness to it, maybe with a little touch of powder, but not too much. It's a fragrance that works really well year round, honestly. It's got enough of a sweetness and a depth and a richness that it can cut through the cold, but at the same time, it's not so cloying that it's unwearable in higher heat. But if you are gonna wear it in higher heat, make sure you don't go too heavy with it, because that's a mistake I made. It's almost like a forgotten Calvin Klein release at this point. Like I said, it doesn't get talked about quite as much as it did when it was first released, but reveal, surprisingly, very good fragrance for a cheap price. Next up is this one from Armaf, Hunter Intense, and you can pick this one up for about $25 from discounters. This one is going to be kind of a hybrid fragrance. It smells like you took a lot of different blue fragrances, mixed them together, and then came out with this one. So you're going to have a little bit of Sauvage in here, a little bit of Invictus in here. It's got that kind of vibe, which also makes it extremely versatile, people-pleasing, and compliment-pulling, on top of having very good performance. So this one has a lot of things going for it that a lot of guys are looking for in a fragrance, other than the bottle, which is kind of tacky looking, but ultimately it's what's on the inside that counts. It's got bergamot, orange, pink pepper, lavender, and vetiver as some of the notes, and again that kind of harkens back to those blue fragrances that this one is trying to fit in with. Armaf is probably most well known for Club de Nuit Intense Man, which is an Aventus clone, which also could have been on this video, but Hunter Intense, the other black bottle from Armaf, is definitely worth mentioning here. All right, from there, let's go to this one, Versace, the Dreamer. So I've got a vintage, old, original bottle here, and then a newer bottle here. You can definitely see the difference in coloration between the two. This one actually looks like somebody peed in my bottle, but it's a vintage. This one you can pick up for about 30 bucks. Sometimes you can find it for less though. And if you look on Fragrantica right now, they have Versace the Dreamer, the original, which is this one, and then Versace the Dreamer, which I guess is this one, but really they don't need two Fragrantica pages. I've never seen that before. I'm not sure why they did it. They smell really, really similar, and in my opinion, there's no reason to pay up and get a vintage bottle. It's not that different. Anyway, this has lavender, tobacco, tonka, sage, carnation, and fir as some of the notes in this fragrance. It's long been a favorite of mine. The opening, some people will say, is a little bit off-putting, but for me, I love the opening, though it's definitely the most divisive part of the fragrance. As it dries down, you're gonna get a little bit of sweetness. You're gonna get that clean lavender, which gives you a little bit of fresh cleanliness, sometimes soapiness. It's got tobacco in here, though the tobacco is not going to be like a sweet pipe tobacco necessarily. And then you've got the classic masculine note of carnation as it dries down as well, which you don't see very often anymore. Fantastic scent, one of my favorites from Versace, and one that has grown on me more and more and more over the years. Great performance as well. And for the Dreamer, for me, more a fall, wintertime fragrance, though I'll bust it out in spring as well. After that, let's go to this one, Halston C14. This one's a real classic. I believe, if memory serves me correctly, it came out in 1974. Cinnamon, cypress, lemon leather, and oak moss, some of the notes in this fragrance, and this one gets compared to Tom Ford's Italian Cypress, only much, 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 much cheaper. And you can pick this one up for next to nothing. 15 bucks or less. I think that you can get unboxed bottles of this for under $10. So this is one of the cheapest fragrances that you're ever gonna find, period. Obviously coming out in 74, it's gonna have a bit of an old school throwback vibe to it. And this one is technically a cologne. Yes, a natural spray cologne. So not even an eau de toilette, but it actually lasts quite well off my skin and projects well also. And at the end of the day, even if it doesn't project like a monster for you, you could legitimately spray yourself 30 times with this and it wouldn't matter, because you can buy an entire bottle for like 10 bucks. So this one's gonna be a little bit sweet, a little bit spicy, and of course focus on cypress, which is what's gonna draw that comparison to Tom Ford Italian Cypress. A little bit old school, but I think still wearable, and a really nice smelling fragrance, Z14. From there, let's go to this one, L'Eau Super Major DC by Miyaki. This one you can pick up for about $30 from discounters. It's got sea notes, sea salt, cashmere, a little bit of smoke, citrus in here as well. This one is heavy on the fixatives. So when you smell this, it's gonna have this fuzziness to it, like this fuzzy modern cleanliness. Now, some people are not gonna like that. Some people are gonna say, oh, you know, it's too strong, it gives me a headache. But for me, it works really well. Extremely fresh in a very modern way, and a fragrance that really you could wear during the winter months or fall as well if you wanted kind of a fresh pick-me-up, because that is not gonna get killed by the cold. So this one is gonna be kind of a modern aquatic, if you want to call it that, and again, that's gonna harken back to those fuzzy notes that I was just talking about. But this one has a little bit of smoke in there as well, where they're trying to give it this slightly darker touch than the original L'Eau Major DC had. And I think between the two, L'Eau Super Major and L'Eau Major, this one is the one that you want to own. I think this one is a little bit better than L'Eau Major. Both of the fragrances though, very inexpensive, both have great performance. Miyaki, L'Eau Super Major DC. All right, we're in the final two, and this next one is a real classic, or a real modern classic. It has spawned a huge line of fragrances that has many flankers, and some of them are modern classics in their own right. It's this one, Amen by Terry Mugler, or Angelman, whichever way you want to call it. Amen, Angelman, Amen, Angelman. This one you can pick up for under 30 bucks at discounters, and for quite a while you could pick up Pure Leather, which is a flanker of this, at discounters for $25 or so, but now that one's gotten bit harder to find. This one has caramel, coffee, patchouli, honey, and vanilla as some of the notes. And you noticed, I'm sure, a lot of those notes are very gourmandy. Coffee, caramel, vanilla, and honey, 4 of those notes that I mentioned, are types of food. This one is a gourmand beast, and one of the most popular, most well-known gourmand men's fragrances, period. One thing with Amen though, it's sometimes not an immediate love for some guys out there. The opening, I've actually seen some people say, is kind of tar-like in that it's dark, but for me, I love it. I think it's amazing. Opening doesn't bother me whatsoever. It's got a nice chocolatey patchouli note in here, which you'll find in a bunch of other Amen fragrances. The original Amen, under 30 bucks, beast performance, lasts forever, projects like a monster, great cool weather fragrance. Killer. Last up for this video, a fragrance from Boucheron, and it's this Jaipur Homme, and there's an eau de toilette and also an eau de parfum. Both of these pretty cheap. The eau de parfum you can pick up around 30 bucks, the eau de toilette about 25. This one, like the Dreamer, has carnation as one of the notes in the fragrance, and it has a little bit of an old school vibe to it, but I still think it's very nice, very high quality. Just maybe not a fragrance that the really young guys out there are going to appreciate as much as maybe somebody middle-aged and older would. There's also cardamom, cinnamon, benzoin, and tonka as some of the notes in this fragrance. It's got a little bit of a creaminess to it. It's also got some nice spice in there, a little bit of a resinous sweetness to it. And it's a fragrance that for me is gonna be better for fall and winter time. The eau de toilette, a little bit fresher. The eau de parfum, a little bit richer. For me personally, if I could pick only one, probably would go with the eau de parfum, but they're both very nice quality, and they both get pretty much overlooked. Don't really see them talked about very much online, but they're both really nice. And this is going to wrap the video up. Jaipur Homme. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. Let me know if you've smelled any of these and what you think about them. As always, thanks so much for your support. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.